What we're going to do is review progress, what people have been doing. I'll bring up the forum tracker, which is a tool for doing that. Next item is all working groups. Report in on what you've been doing. And for any particular forums that you will be posing, we'll select forum leads, assign tasks, have your topic description, prospective speakers, and then if you wish to collaborate, talk about that. After we're done with this, in the September, October forums, we'll have the working groups that are involved in those breakout. And again, work on, for those, the same forum planner, select leads and task assignments, and then action items and adjournment. Who just joined us?
Hi, it's Michelle Harrison.
Hi, Michelle. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. So first, the forum tracker is in the working group Dropbox. Has anybody been into the Dropbox and checked out some of the documents?
Well, we know someone has because someone deleted everything in it last night.
That was no me.
I couldn't figure out anybody, but we restored it this morning.
Yeah, we restored this morning. So please, when you go in the Dropbox,
You can download things, you can upload things, you can edit things. Just don't take everything.
You can make that read only, so there is one person that makes any changes.
Well, I can make documents read only. I can't make it so you can't delete an item in the Dropbox. It's meant for collaboration.
Because one issue there is that you will get a Dropbox folder on your local computer, and I can easily see someone go through that. What's this? I'm not supposed to have this on my C drive. Delete it, and then that deletes it in the cloud, and it deletes it everywhere.
yeah.
So I mean, I haven't tried to make it read only Dropbox, but you're saying that you can't do it.
Not from what we can tell. I'll keep looking, but
Call Dropbox, they'll help you. There is a way to do it.
Yes,
We use it, there's a way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, you should be able to do it.
Yeah, no, and I think that's probably exactly what happened.
Right.
Is if someone allowed it to create a local instance,
Right.
which you cannot allow that
Yeah.
if you want.
Okay, you can, yeah, but
you can.
I think the default is that you will get it local.
I think you're right. I think
So
you're
if you
right.
don't,
That's the new, yeah.
Right.
So basically, the forum tracker, it's just a summary. It keeps you and us informed, like what's in the pipeline, what people are working on, what's actually on the calendar, and please send me any updates, and I'll update the tracker on a regular basis. Here's what the tracker looks like.
unless somebody deletes it.
Well, unless somebody deletes it, that's true. Let's see. Beautiful. So basically, these are the things that people have been working on. Topics, these are the actual forums that are scheduled, timing, the audience, you know, who do we want in the audience? The status, we have status indicators here. It's just in the brainstorming stage, initial discussion, working groups are thinking through the idea and inviting others to participate. It's on the calendar. The working groups have chosen a date, and I'm holding it on the calendar. If it's a stage of planning details, you're already involved in finding speakers and fleshing out the details. Marketing, it's already being marketed and in the website and calendar. So keep me informed, and then that way I can keep you informed. So that's the tracker. Okay. Now, we need to have everybody report in on what they've been working on and what we have for actual forums. And what we need to do for each forum, we need to select 2 lead people. These are people who will interface and coordinate with MassBio, and your fab liaisons for your working group, and coordinate with me, logistics, planning calls, and I can help you do all of that. We need to have a forum description and format. We need to have your target audience defined for marketing, who to reach out to. We need a list of speakers. And then you'll all work on assigning tasks, who drafts the description, talking points, etc. So the list of speakers, who's responsible for contacting these speakers, and then, you know, to collaborate or not, depending on your topic, you may or may not want to collaborate with another group. So again, we're talking about these deeper dive, new content forums. And here is a wonderful new content, a forum planner. This would really help everybody, and especially us, to keep these things organized. What I need is an identifier, title. Draft title of the forum. We need a brief overview, a description of the topic that the forum is going to address. Format. Do you want a panel discussion? Do you want seminar style, slide, whatever? Again, define the target audience, who you market to, companies, job titles. We'll look into lists of similar events, attendee lists. And then forum leads, again, select 2 point people who coordinate the whole effort with MassBio and your fab liaisons, and keep track of progress and timeline and the tasks involved. And I just want to mention here that, you know, if it's a lot of work to go reach out to speakers and whatnot, but you have the entire forum advisory board to reach out to ask for assistance. Your forum liaisons, your fab liaisons, are always available for this and should be included in discussions on your forum topics. Again, speakers, a prioritized list of speakers and the leads who are going to contact them. And again, if you decide to collaborate, who those groups will be, and select one representative from that group, who again will be that point person. It just makes for less moving parts. It will be easier to manage. Anybody have any suggestions, questions? All right. Okay. So let's get started. Let's get started. Biz dev and finance. What have you all come up with that we can get started on and talk about? A title, ideas, basic ideas, speakers. Who is here from BD Finance? BD Finance. Ah. Well, all right. There's an email. Come back to that. John and Michelle, biostats, data management, and clinical trials. Do you have a couple of basic ideas that you're drafting, that you're thinking about?
We do, yes. I think, Susan, we had mentioned this via email. It'd probably be more appropriate to talk about this at a later date because we're just in the drafting stages of this.
Okay. Any just a brief description, or you're not at that stage yet?
The idea is that we're going to do some kind of panel discussion, hoping that it would be an interactive, with the goal of it being an interactive panel, possibly on a topic of choosing the kind of the correct CRO partner for your company, or maybe kind of choosing the right EDC tool for your company, something along those lines. So we wanted to think about that a little bit more and then try to get the right folks in there for that discussion.
Okay, then we can have a discussion offline, you and John and your fab liaisons, Kathy Call and Susan Boynton. All right.
Susan, what's your timeline? Just so what's happening, I'm seeing, because I've been sitting in on a number of different meetings, is that we're piling up events and everybody wants the same week, the same date, the same. So I think it's really important to have a timeline in your head, what you're aiming for the event. And Susan's putting up a slide that has a timeline. So
So we were actually looking to target the fall time frame.
Okay. And I do have a calendar which is going to go into the Dropbox with just tentative open dates. So we do have a lot of openings. We do have openings in the fall. November and December are open. Also, think about October and September as well for a deeper dive, perhaps to supplement one of the series forums.
Susan, is that the clinical trials group?
Yes.
So they're up here?
Yes.
They're
in the sky.
Clinical trials group, can you hear me?
Yes?
So it just
You
popped
should
my head.
identify yourself.
I'm Rob Goldstein, evil marketing guy. And I'm sure you've seen it, but there is an adaptive trial design meeting here in Boston on September 18th this year. So we may want to try to avoid conflict with that date and content.
I don't think we were, adaptive trials was a little more narrowly focused, so that's more kind of a stats piece, but that's a very good point. I think some of the same audience might attend, might be interested in our topic and that topic, so we will try to probably just avoid that month altogether.
All right, well, we can talk further.
If you don't mind,
Yes.
Because now the next one we need to really hammer is the September 13th.
Yes, we're
So
going
if you don't mind to start with the three, basically working group which will participate in hopefully the September 13th, and we have the HR, the Centennial University, and the Macron. So
Yes, we're going to break out into those groups as soon as everybody
Is
is.
it 13 or 12?
September 13th.
Sorry, okay, I just wanted to, yeah, no.
September 12th.
So we want to,
Another thing about September, that's BioFarm America. So that's going to have a negative impact on attendance at other events.
So we have a calendar in the Dropbox, right? It's very useful, actually. I suggest, so I realize, there's a lot going on, and I'm hearing a lot of, people saying, oh, we keep having the same conversation more than once, and, our committee can't coordinate with the other committee so good. So we need to really kind of look at that calendar all the time, like get used to using the Dropbox. And if you see something like that, it would be great to help your other fora to put them on the calendar so they're
such as
a conference that would conflict, such as a topic that would conflict by another event that you know of. So if you know HBA is doing an event on clinical trials on September 16th, probably MassBio doesn't want to do one on the 17th, or something like that.
And ACHI has a huge genome cancer meeting in
Right.
September, which I will put in there.
Right,
Well,
so,
the thing to do with that, to avoid
Yeah.
same issue that we had with the Dropbox, please send those to me. And
Okay.
I will update
Okay.
the calendar as well as the tracker if something comes up that needs to.
BioFarm America is 17th to 19th of September, so that should not overlap with the 12th.
so just to go back to the agenda so we can make sure that we're being efficient. We want to do just quick touch-ins with each
Yes.
committee to understand what topics aren't already sort of in the general consciousness. We have in the forum tracker a list of everything that was mentioned at our first big meeting. So even if you just threw it out there, it's on our radar. But we want to understand and share with the group if any of those are moving forward faster than others, or if you are working on one thing or another. The second piece of this meeting will be to break up into the September sessions, because that is sort of our next focus, to get those nailed down, details and speakers and things like that. So we just want to do a quick around the room with different groups to see what you're moving forward, and we'll put it all in the forum tracker, so that'll be the place that you look to figure out who's working on what, and then we'll break up into September. I will move back one step and say the June events are coming together very well. As of yesterday, we had 110 people registered for the first one, and 42 or 43 registered for the second one, which is very good. We are slicing and dicing. It's about, did we say about 75% members, 25%?
A little more, but there are non-members, maybe.
And we actually are looking at, we've seen some postdocs registered. We had a professor and an instructor register, a Harvard Medical School professor and a Mass College of Pharmacy professor. We've had some incubator folks represented. So these are some of the groups we've talked about trying to further engage. So we think we're getting there and are expecting good June events. What we're trying to just figure out is between June and September, there's probably a number of things you're all talking about, and we want to make sure that we're on top of it.
All right, so let's continue with, let's see what's in the pipeline right now, where you've been. Cyril? Bobby?
Is there anybody else on the line? Do you know?
Not from here.
Not from my group. I actually need to get back to my team and come up with the proposal, but we didn't have a chance to discuss this yet, so.
Okay, and you know that Svetlana Lazarova is your FAB liaison, so. So you review with your group and your FAB liaison. And then, if you would like, I can help you schedule a con call.
I will reach out to Raj and and Ed and seek their help on this one. So.
And do CC Svetlana. All right, great. Okay. So we'll follow up. Drug discovery.
Okay, sure. So we've had so far several discussions on the potential topics, and we're thinking about two themes that we would like to bring to the forums. Since we are science-based committee, we thought that one of the meetings that we actually target towards the fall, October or November, December timeframe, could be inviting a CSO, and we want to have a panel that will include CSOs coming from different sizes of the company, startup company or a small company and a big pharma. And so the topic could be a day in a life of a CSO, so that these folks can share the experiences of what it takes to run science projects in different formats of the company. We brainstormed potential speaker list. We didn't contact any of them, so it's early to kind of announce who is going to participate, but we came up with the potential names, and during the summer, I believe we will follow up and touch base with those people. Regarding the target audience, we think that if we invite senior level scientists and basically CSOs coming from different companies in the area, that would be a special event for them. And we are targeting evening time, so that after a day of work, they can come over and relax and enjoy networking with their colleagues here.
We think of that sort of as the audience as being basically CSOs, like the CEO type of days that you have. There is one coming up here in June, sort of a CEO networking event. So that's what we're thinking about the evenings as well, for CSOs to commiserate a bit over some drinks.
You know, Marsha, maybe think also many companies, small and medium-sized, up to big one, the initial starting is in academia. Now the founder or the one who thought about a specific company is usually, not usually, but he still is in academia. And there is the CSO which work with him or his own. So think about basically also inviting somebody from the academia that was George Post. You know, there are many.
You can't believe, but this is exactly the second topic that we thought about. To have a serial entrepreneur coming from academia who has the experience of founding companies that are science-based. So they have a translational experience of being in academia and starting a company from the science point of view, and to tell us about it in a second event that we will target over December or so.
Okay, so we're talking.
Partner with Entrepreneurs University on that one.
Right.
Right. Okay, so brief description, you're talking about an event with.
academic entrepreneur that started a number of companies, because I believe this should be an experienced person that has done it before and can share those experiences.
Or a starting company, or somebody who is trying.
But who is a scientist,
Exactly.
especially?
If you look at somebody like Mark,
Yeah.
Mark Greenstaff at BU, I think there are 3 companies that he has started. His technology from his lab has resulted in 3 companies. And there is a 4th coming along now. Mark Greenstaff, chemistry in BU.
Okay, there is also Avi Spira from BU.
Right, yes. So I mean, there's definitely quite a few. I mean, of course, we all need help with figuring out who these people are.
Great, so obviously there's some collaboration that can go on here offline as you develop this. Terrific. So that's 2, that's great. Perfect.
One idea that we did kick around a bit as well, but not to the same degree. I just throw it out there, so to speak, since we're having a series now on basically building the dream, financing the dream, in a number of stories. There are some companies out there which has been very, very successful. I was listening to, and this was actually Robert Schulter's suggestion as well, Forma, Steve Integrate, having Forma store. I mean, they have really built the drug discovery engine, if you will, which is enormously successful. And I listened to it the other week at the conference I was at. So that does, if you will, deeper dive from a drug discovery perspective into success stories. And we were thinking about sort of coming up with somebody to pair that up with, and I realized so that should be FB-Sign. Do you think you could?
Do my best.
Interesting, interesting. All right, so this is a third option. As that develops, we can look for where it'll fit.
Right, exactly.
So, okay, so I'm sorry, give me just an identifier for this, like a brief title.
Title for that. Well, so that, no, it would be sort of the idea there was that it's a sort of, it's a case, well, 2 case stories in that case of success stories, but not, well, driven from the drug discovery perspective, so it's been diving deeper into the drug discovery.
Okay.
Which of course, have been very successful, I should say.
And there's an opportunity to collaborate on that one as well. All right. Okay, thank you. Drug discovery. Okay, EU.
All right, thanks, Susan. So the EU group had a call yesterday to talk about kind of what we might have coming up. Joanne participated in the call as well, so thanks, Joanne. But we're obviously taking a lead role in the June 27th event coming up soon. We'll look to have a call with the panelists in the next probably week or 2. It includes probably Chris from BD on that, Chris.
Yeah.
So that way, John Hesh will be kind of leading the moderating, but we want to get the panelists on the line, you as well, to make sure everybody's in sync with kind of what we plan for format and content that day. So you should be getting something, if you haven't already, from John's assistant over at Cooling. Then last time we had talked with HR about potentially doing something around equity compensation. The HR group I know has looked into that. They're interested. EU has looked a little bit more into that and are interested. You and I think is going to check with Eric on the HR team, who might kind of play the forum or the co-lead from HR as well as myself from EU. And we're going to see if maybe a mid-August date might work with Eric's calendar. So I think we already have a couple of panelists lined up for that particular one. Eric, I know, has an idea of some equity compensation or compensation experts. John Hessian has pulled together a number of presentations around the different kind of stock options and incentive compensation items from a legal perspective. So if timing works, that might be in mid-August for that particular session. The other thing that
right now I have August 15th held on the calendar for that.
I mentioned it to you, and I need to kind of check with Eric to see if that works from his perspective, because it's probably closer to his expertise area or focus area.
So since that one is soon, so does HR want to, do you guys have a one-person lead to kind of match with the EU lead on that event?
Yeah.
You know, like we want to kind of simplify the processes.
Yeah.
I think it will be Eric, but I don't
Okay.
commit him.
Got it.
to your
Okay.
commission, so.
Okay.
And it'll be me from the EU
Great.
side, so once I hear back from kind of you and the HR team, we'll kind of start putting a little bit more meat on the bone here.
Right.
The other thing that the EU group talked about, and this would probably be maybe sometime in the fall timeframe, is maybe kind of an annual event. A lot of entrepreneurs go to JP Morgan first or second week of January. So how do you kind of prepare for success? So you know what, it's really prepare for success at JP Morgan at your primer. So maybe sometime in November, provided it doesn't conflict with some of the other groups, look to have some serial entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who've been there. Maybe it's an opportunity to partner with marketing and or biz dev on that as well. But that's kind of what we're thinking right now. So between those three events and where we might partner with others, that's kind of all we wanted to commit to for this year.
I was going to say, in terms of JP Morgan, I think we talked about this, whatever, I can't remember which of the meetings here. Having a debrief after JP Morgan would be very good as well, which doesn't necessarily have to be, if you will, organized. It could just be that whoever went to JP Morgan, show up.
Right.
And tell us, I mean, just have a panel or room full of people saying whatever they want to say about what happened at JP Morgan.
What they do differently or what worked great.
Yeah, I mean, or what their take home was. I mean, this year, I mean, of course, last year there was a lot more optimism than the year before, for instance, right? So, I mean, just getting a general sense for the meeting. That doesn't have to be super, at least in my mind, super organized. It just could be
Just show up
whoever
and
went
start
there.
talking, yeah.
You could alternate years. Some years you could do a pre-event, and some years you could do the debrief.
That's good, right.
I mean, there's two different purposes, really. The pre-event could be for the entrepreneurs to prepare for the meeting, right? To be
Right.
successful.
Bio they
And
have.
the debrief could be for basically everyone else, or for all of us.
Right, exactly.
All right, that's certainly food for thought, so, and, great.
Is there a MassBio meetup at JP Morgan, Susan?
We have a reception.
You are doing a reception, right?
All right, thank you.
That's good.
Because not all of us can afford to go to JP Morgan. But we all want to know.
Can you
what
not afford to
happened.
go? No. Can you afford not to
No,
go?
exactly. Well, it all depends on what different stage you are when selling your ideas, right? If you're too early, it's definitely a waste of time, or a waste of money, I should say, and time.
Okay, in the interest of time, let's continue with our brief debriefs. FDD.
Yeah, I'm the only one. Alex is not on the line. And so the July 18th forum on repurposing, we're supporting that. And we have not come up with any other ideas following that. Looking at the tracking sheet, it's quite extensive, so we haven't spent time planning it, but we'll definitely do so. But that's our focus right now.
So what event are you guys doing?
The July 18th, the repurposing.
I wonder if it wouldn't be worth, collaborating with the drug development on some kind of event a little bit sciencey, like lipid particles, there's so many diverse new approaches out there that might be good sometime this year to do kind of herd the cats there and educate people, like a sort of educational event. It's just a thought that came up with me. Because there's I think people don't know what's going on, and there's some new crazy stuff out there, and some of them are starting to work. And I think it might be good just to as a sciencey kind of event later or next year or something.
Yeah. We can. You want to add it on the tracker, and we can think about it.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think maybe not just lipid particles, speaking about more creative stuff. I mean, one of his ideas is this drug-eluting mesh that very slowly will release.
But I think there's just a new technology opportunity to do new technology event with the stuff that's working.
In the interest of time, definitely put it on. I remember talking with Susan before the big meeting we had, and we wanted to go through, focus on the overall arching theme. So we had some particle size, new delivery technology. So we put it on the parking lot.
Okay, never mind. Sorry, I missed that meeting. I apologize.
That's okay. I mean, we can always have it on the parking lot if you feel.
Yep. And there are parking spaces in December, November.
No, that's fine. As I said, the tracker is so extensive, we want to see what the other groups are focusing on.
Yeah, and this discussion is very useful too. Terrific. All right, so obviously there's a follow-up to the discussion. And by the way, the repurposing and reformulation is in collaboration with legal and regulatory. So that's a very nice collaboration. All right, thank you, FDD. So that's a follow-up email. HR.
All right. The HR group met here on Friday morning. Mark already went over the equity compensation, so I'll skip that potentially for August. For September 12th, we have part of the Green Series, and Patrick has volunteered to take the lead on that for HR. We sent out our notes to our, I guess, our co-working groups, marketing, communications, and biz dev finance. So we're hoping today to be able to touch base with them. We just kind of outlined the topics that we think are of interest, but we also obviously want to make sure that we have input from you. We've put together just a preliminary speakers list based on kind of some HRE topics, but obviously we want to include speakers from the other groups. And other topics that we discussed were, I think in the fall, so Dahlia and I discussed at the last meeting, women in biotech, so I think that's an idea that I want to follow up with Dahlia on.
So that's something that you definitely want to schedule. Okay, so women in biotech.
And it doesn't look like Denise is here today, but she mentioned some interest in an organizational development
Yes.
topic. So that could also be something that.
All right, so we have at least two.
Leadership Conference is in Boston this year, unusually in November. And I don't know if you want the Women in Biotech theme, you might be interested in tying into that scheduling. It's going to be a lot of publicity, that's why, so.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
I have the date for that somewhere. I think I signed up for it.
Also, there is a group in Boston reforming called Women in Biotech.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Right. I don't really know, I don't kind of get what they're about, and they're trying to get into a very competitive, so be careful how you brand and call, what you call that. Yeah. No, they're kind of out there, but they're not sure what they are. I've spoken with them, and there's a whole, I don't know, we can talk about it later. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're starting it here when we have a 300 HBH after. It makes no sense to me.
And other women in science and stuff. There's a
Well,
lot.
West is doing tech now, so it's not much of a yeah, it's more techy.
I just finished a leadership program as a mentor, so there is a lot going on in addition to the tech.
Yeah.
And they are starting a new one for the summer.
Okay, so basically the two leading topics would be women in biotech and organizational development, HR, and of course your involvement on the September 12th. Perfect. Perfect. All right. Thank you, HR. Legal and regulatory.
Hi, Konstantin Winning. The immediate event is the one that the Formulation Committee just mentioned on July 18th. And that event is already posted on MassBio calendar, and I think people can register for it. There's only a brief description, but...
There's a brief description. We were going to update that when we speak next.
As of now, we do have 4 speakers confirmed, and we're in the process of talking to the speakers to highlight exactly what they will be speaking about. It will be, the title of the event, Drug Repurposing and Reformulation at the Crossroads of IP, Clinical, and Business Strategies. So it's supposed to appeal to a very broad audience who's interested in drug repurposing. We were trying to get somebody from NIH Translational Research Program. Unfortunately, they have not been very responsive. But they do have a drug repurposing program that's pretty small. It's $20 million a year in grants. So if we can get your help in reaching out to NIH and getting somebody from NIH, that would be.
Yeah, so again, this is where the Forum Advisory Board and the FAB liaisons would come in and might be able to get some traction with that. So reaching out to them is probably going to be, if that's where you want to go, the next step.
So beyond that, we are planning three other events, and there will be more long-term. The next event will be on regulatory issues in orphan diseases. And Mladen, one of the co-chairs, is spearheading that event. I don't know, we haven't set the date. We're actually meeting this Friday, hopefully, as a group to talk more about it.
I'd like to help with that, if you don't.
Yeah, can you give me your contact information?
So possible collaboration with Marcom, or just,
Or patient
broad.
advocacy than anything.
Patient, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Then more long-term topics. There will be an event on legal issues in biotech enterprise, a 360 overview. So it's supposed to be a comprehensive and concise overview of hot topics and legal issues without being too specialized. And then finally, one of the co-chairs wants to run an event, that's probably towards the end of the year, beginning of next year, about regulatory issues for biomarkers and companion diagnostics.
And do you have a lead for legal issues in but the overview?
That would be David Kaufman and myself.
And what about the biomarkers? Who was interested in that?
I may mispronounce the name, Vaidia?
Oh,
Jadia.
We had talked to Mass Medic about doing a joint program, so maybe we do something with them in the beginning of next year on regulatory issues, and they're very interested in that as well.
So Constantine, have you thought of which other forums could collaborate on these? Because
working with, yeah.
I mean, I think, are we not doing any larger collaborative ones until next year? Are we, I mean, I guess one of the ideas of this was to have more groups working together to have larger events, and so not every group would be making an independent, you know, line of events, right? So we have so many events, fewer people come to them. The idea, I think, was to have more than one forum collaborating to make fewer larger events.
So we can help with the orphan disease one.
Drug development is the natural part of this.
Right, I mean, just
I
to.
think both of those topics, if I look from a drug discovery perspective, that there's spot on, Master, now where you're saying that. So I think we definitely, from our community, people would show up at that meeting. I mean, and if you need help, of course, organizing it.
And also for the legal issues, regulatory compliance, SEF, safety, environmental, always overlaps with that. It's not exactly the type of legal issues that you're talking about, but certainly that's a larger component of safety and environmental stuff.
I mean, do you mind if we, I mean, I guess that's just sort of the point of us all meeting together, is to try and create these larger events with more stakeholders that would be interested in them, right?
We don't mind at all. In fact, we're looking for input from other groups. For the first one, we're collaborating with repurposing, formulations for the repurposing event. And I'll mention, you can contact, I guess you can either contact through Susan or contact me directly if you would like to collaborate on any of these topics.
Yeah, well, Susan will get it down, capture this also.
Oh, yes, exactly. Drug discovery is definitely.
There's thing about companion diagnostics.
Right, exactly. So this, I mean, both of those.
Right. It doesn't mean that you wouldn't lead on it, you know, and it's better to have one, I think, person or one group probably taking the lead on an event, but just to get input and to get that community excited about it, so that instead of having 30 people show up, you have 100 people show up, you know.
Right, and basically the series, this was the entire objective of the series, is take a broad slice that is going to be of interest to a huge section of the membership. But again, not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, a deeper dive into more specific, more either scientific topics or more narrowly focused is also good. All right, so Eleanor, you've got quite a nice lineup. Okay, thank you. Marcom.
Yes, the Marcom team has been working diligently to assemble the October event, the Selling of the Dream, aligning partners, payers, and patients. Rob has secured a couple of folks that you could speak to, and then I'll talk about the others that we've gained their commitment.
So we kind of went on the subhead that everybody came up with as a team here about a month ago now, I think. So it was partners, payers, and patients. Looked at payers first because they may be the hardest ones to get in the room to talk about what they're charging our patients for the drugs that we all develop. Turned out they were the easiest ones to secure. All you had to do was ask. So we have the Chief Medical Officer of Blue Cross Blue Shield, John Fallon, who's been practicing medicine for about 35 years, and Paul Jeffrey, who's the Director of Pharmacy for Mass Health, who's an adjunct, I believe, at UMass out in Amherst. So both of them have confirmed their availability, Susan, for October 8th, not the 10th.
So you want to change the date to October 8th? That's open right now in the calendar.
These speakers, we got to change the date. So
well,
yes,
you tell me.
Yes.
These are the speakers.
Yes.
These are going to be belly to the bar to hear these speakers.
So both of them have agreed to October the 8th.
Well, here we go, October 8th. And originally,
Man.
I'm so excited, it just happens to.
Assassination attempt.
Okay. Can I just lock so I don't kill myself? Anybody know? It must. Anyway,
Okay.
off this up. I'm having a media malfunction. Let me just take this up.
You can keep talking.
All right, I'll keep talking.
So we have those two, and we're looking to put together, the panel is really focused, and I have an outline if people want to read it. I don't want to read it, it's probably 80 words. But the goal is to try to tell the story from developing a drug to working together internally and putting together a package that you go to a payer that gets them to agree to the number that you want to get the return to your investors and show the value to patients. As everybody's aware, showing value to patients is becoming really important in the real world setting. Clinical outcomes are not just the only thing that matters to regulators anymore, and certainly don't just matter to patients.
So we've also gained commitment of Vice President of Patient Advocacy at Genzyme, Jamie Ring, who has offered to provide a patient as well, and also a aligned marketing director working on that brand. I'm not sure we'd need all three of those folks. We were thinking maybe Jamie's great, and maybe save her for a subsequent patient advocacy forum like we hosted earlier this year. But I think if we could have the patient, maybe somebody from the, somebody commercial from the marketing, considering this is a event hosted by Marketing and Communications Committee, coupled with the payers, we might have something there that we could work with.
So you're talking about the October 10th, 8th one?
Correct.
Okay, so, all right. So
that would be a, sort of
And I have as the FAB point of contact for this forum, Mike Donovan.
Is Mike in the room? I've never met Mike.
No, he's not. He does exist, and I've seen him in person. Yes, I really have. And he's very, very interested and very involved. He's actually the Forum Advisory Board co-chair, along with Dahlia and Roger Frechette.
So if you think about payers, a patient, a marketing person, if there's anything else that would make that a more robust panel discussion, and by all means.
Well, you and BD were originally collaborators on this, so
Great.
when we do our breakout, you guys will all meet and have a nice talk about
Just
that.
a programming note for MassBio feedback. The reason that Dr. Jeffrey agreed was that he was impressed with the policy leadership summit that he attended that he all hosted. So that was his selling point on this organization's ability to put together good meetings that he wanted to participate in. So that's two.
This is great. So as far as, so this is the October 8th. Do we have deeper dives?
Yeah, we have a couple other ideas that we're working on. We obviously need to keep patients at the forefront of everything that we do in Massachusetts for biotechnology. So we'd like to host another patient advocacy panel at a point that fits into the calendar. So we'd look to MassBio to kind of propose what makes best.
So we did the one last year, January 28th, was it?
Yeah. I mean, in our opinion, you can't do them enough. So we look to you to kind of tell us what fits the most in the calendar. If that's okay to kind of throw that back in your court.
Yeah, and since we conducted that one, there have been other patient advocacy folks at different companies that volunteered to be a part of it, which was encouraging.
Wonderful. We got so much incredible feedback from that. We're still getting it. So, okay, we'll talk about another patient advocacy panel. Anything else?
There's one more that Mike and I threw around the first time that we met, and there's actually a summit at the end of the year in Washington on it. It's around social media and the use of social media in healthcare, specifically for orphan diseases. So we'd like to, we'll keep our eye on that and may try to develop some concurrent content, but that's not till the end of the year. We all know everybody likes Twitter. Mike's on it now.
This might be a wonderful place to collaborate with Eleanor, Bladen, Bozic.
Yeah, if anybody's in the legal department and you want to learn how to tell people not to do things, come to that one.
Great, all right, so that's two. We're thinking late in the year, maybe December, and for this one as well?
I was going to say, in terms of timing, so since it occurs to me, we've heard so many topics here now, and they all talk about October, November, December.
Right,
I think we'll have a meeting every day. So I think
they won't all come through.
No, I get, well.
And they'll get pushed out. out.
I was going to say that, at least to me, it makes sense not for us to suggest dates, but for you, when we look at this complete list, spread them out so that they get reasonably evenly spread out, so that we don't have 2 drug discovery related events in 3 weeks.
I think that's right. The FAB needs to take a look at what
Right,
Susan's getting
exactly.
right. This is exactly the list she needed, and
Right.
now she can take a look and say, you know, you're kind
Right.
of slotted in for second half of November.
Right.
Does that make sense to you guys? And I'm worried also about events piling up and thus too much media on people. They won't know what event they're going to. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's already becoming a little bit like June and June. Like people are already like, what is that? But I think we just have to be careful not to go to 7 events in a month. It's too much.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, because now, I mean, all of them here really that we talked about, I think, have an interest, have a very broad interest, unlike what we have done before. So if we do 3 a month, I mean, we're going to get overloaded and we'll be back down to the 20, 30 people. So that, I mean, of course, that might not, I'm not saying that that's wrong, I'm just saying that that's going to happen if we try to squeeze all of those.
It's a good point. We definitely have to look for you guys in the Forum Advisory Board to kind of limit us.
And especially when you get high-powered people, like you just mentioned in here, right? If they come here and there are 20 people there, they're not going to come again.
That's right. That's right.
They're only coming because they owe me.
But they owe you, did you say? You don't want to waste your favor, though.
For MassBio, you guys get it.
Whatever means necessary, thank you. Oh, all right. SEF?
For SEF, we've been looking at some standalone topics, and one of them is innovative methodologies and training. That is something that always comes up, and there are 2 more that go kind of hand in hand: facilities and environmental, which are planning your renovation project and building commissioning benefits. So we might combine those 2 in a panel discussion. Building commissioning can involve facilities for sure, but the environmental also plays a role in determining, ventilation rates and what are those types of requirements. And some other ideas that were for maybe combining with other groups were EH&S for the CFO, return on investment of environmental, the compliance, quality, leading indicators versus lagging indicators, meaning instead of measuring accidents, measure things beforehand that prevent accidents. So explaining what that's all about. And I guess we're still trying to figure out which of the other groups we fit in with. I mean, we talked about legal and regulatory as being one of them.
There's also, particularly for the planning and renovation project, MassBio coordinates what we call the Economic Development Advisory Board, which is real estate brokers, building managers, a group of our associate members that I think would be interested. They meet sort of outside of this structure, but
I mean, there are things that you need to think about ahead of time, otherwise they end up costing more in the long run.
Exactly, yeah. So we can connect you with that group as well.
And I have an idea, just popped in my head, and I'm sorry to eat up time, but I think it was about a month ago, we lost power here in Cambridge. Did anybody else lose power, or was it just us?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it would be interesting if we, again, it's hard to plan for that. I think it's impossible, actually. But you need to, but it would be interesting to try to hold for our community a very quick, even online discussion, like the next week, talking about how the city responded, how a couple of big, farmers and small farmers kind of responded, and how the planning that you guys do is so important to make sure that when you lose power, you don't lose money.
Yeah.
That was the second time this year, right? There was a little one a month ago, and there was a big outage, almost a day, which, if we hadn't had emergency power, our library would have been gone, right? So thank God for the generator. But, that...
Usually you think about it after it happens.
Oh, no, we think about it every 3 months when we test the generator. but that's...
In your lab, if you have freezers, incubators and whatnot, I mean, you always have to have backup. I mean, it doesn't matter if it happens once a year or once every 10 years.
It's just not often that we're given a real-world experience
that
can help motivate young professionals in college or graduate students or postdocs that are so eager to go just start a company and don't plan for the loss of all the investment capital that they spend a year raising. They don't test it generator every 3 months.
It's a dumb thing, right?
Yeah.
The other thing you may want to think about is getting a guest speaker from New York, from the flood. That was an unbelievable, the NYU safety officer, I bet he's got a story to tell.
Well, yeah, there the backup generators didn't help when the mouse facility
Oh,
flooded.
what a disaster.
One of the things that we have in my I'm at UMass Medical School, we have the newborn screening laboratories for all the babies that are born and we can get the panel test. And we had a continuity of operations meeting with all the other labs in the country, and a lot of them have arrangements for diverting their samples in case, because some of these things need to be analyzed within 12 hours of birth, otherwise, you lose an opportunity to correct some of the anomalies. So there was one person from New Orleans, and they had an agreement with the lab in Iowa, but their plan was to divert, for a few weeks. They ended up diverting for 2 years. So, they include all sorts of personnel arrangements.
Well, there's another speaker right there.
Yeah.
New York, New Orleans, how about Oklahoma? What's going on? This would be a terrific panel. So, sounds like we've got some really good stuff in SES as well. All right,
Doomsday Pharma.
Doomsday Pharma.
There you go.
That's a catchy title.
Apocalypse Pharma. Listen, talk to us. What have we got for forums?
Anyone else on the line? If not, I'll just give a quick overview. So
We have our biostats and data management people online who've already
I think a lot of people are at conferences. So I'm John Riley, BizDev. I'm certainly looking forward to coordinating, having some time today. I think that's one of the challenges that we've had in terms of getting co-chairs from our group dedicated to and being in the loop on a few things. So I'm looking forward to sort of formalizing that. We've also had some challenges just scheduling, getting our group together. So certainly I think the dates are on the calendar for the ones in which we're either the lead or collaborator. And I know Chris has an update on the topic related to the audit function that we're moving forward. So we'll communicate that piece. Likely not part of the larger forum. It's going to be one of the sort of the standalone, sort of like the CFO 2.0 role, an ongoing or annual event that I think makes a lot of sense for the membership.
You're talking about the audit.
The audit. So that's really going to be our next sort of topic and getting that crystallized and formalized. So Chris was here. You can provide more of an update, but that's essentially where we're at.
All right, so as far that's going to be your independent one, and I know Chris was also talking about a business, something like the CSO event. He just walked out. He was talking about another event.
CFO event.
CFO. That had happened, but this is
happened, but he was talking about something else. All right.
Standing topic related to audit, update audit.
Susan, did you hit did we hit everybody now?
I think we got every group.
I just wanted to mention one thing that came up in some calls that I was on. So I realize most of us are very seasoned professionals, but when you choose, one of the things that I'm supposed to be helping with is program excellence. So not just having the programs, but how to really keep them awesome so people come back. And so if you do not know the kind of rules of running a panel discussion and you're having a panel discussion, come to the FAB and talk with me or someone else. There's certain, for example, one good thing came up on one of our calls. Don't let the speakers introduce themselves. This is a nightmare on a panel. They always say they'll go 2 minutes and they always go 10. And then you've lost time for questions. You introduce them and then get right into the questions. It makes for a much better program. Everybody wants to have those famous people introduce themselves, but it always backfires every time I've ever seen it, okay? And other things about running a panel is you should have a pre-call with the speakers and get good stories from them so you can draw those stories out in the questions. So it takes a little preparation unless you are a master moderator to do it without preparation. You have to, okay? Because you want to get them to say the funny, cool stuff that is entertaining and is useful and not just go off on so you really need a good moderator. So pick your moderators well that are experienced or are willing to train and kind of learn how to do that. There are these are just the two that I'm thinking of. Right, and the questions have to be prepared and you can't just wing it. I think we all know that, but I've been to some MassBio panels, frankly, where the moderator was clearly winging it and they were less good programs. And then people don't come back, right? So the idea here is again, fewer events, bigger events, better events, right? The other thing to think about is facilitated networking. It takes a little bit of work on the part of the organizers to do a facilitated networking activity, but people really enjoy it, especially if your event is going to be bringing younger people or, you know, more people earlier in their careers. Those people that are more senior are good at going around and meeting people. But the idea for MassBio, if you want to increase membership and engagement, is to get people who aren't so comfortable and who are new. So if you want to add a facilitated networking component to your event, you can come talk to the FAB as well. I have all kinds of dozens of ideas for facilitated networking type little activities you can add on to the networking to get people talking to each other. Those were the three that had come up in discussions this week, in the last 2 weeks for me. I don't know if other people have had best practices, but you know, so focus not just on obviously getting the right speaker. You're all getting the right speakers because you all know the right people, and that's why the forums work so well. But now maybe take it to the next level, especially when you have more help. If you're a larger event with more collaborators, maybe one person could kind of focus on quality of the event and something special that would make people come back. So
great, good guidelines, good guidelines. Well, I think everybody has been heard from, all of our, so let's move on to series breakout. For the September 12th, Executing the Dream Strategy and Model. HR, ED Finance are leads on this. There's some collaboration from Marcom. Dahlia is the staff point of contact on this. So if you want to start talking about, again, putting together who your speakers are, what's the basic concept, everything in our forum planner so that we can move forward and start getting this ready for putting on the website, marketing, target audience, et cetera. So break out into that group. For September 26th, drug discovery, you take the lead on this one, science tactics, biostats, data management people, again, have a lot to collaborate on. I know SEF decided that this is not really going to be relevant, so and then CRO, CMO, also a collaborator. So break out and start talking about that. And then October 10th, Marcom. Again, you're pretty far along in planning, speakers and whatnot. Collaborate with EU, ED Finance, to get a clearer picture and fill out that planner.
Can we focus on the September 1st because there's overlap and people won't be able
there
to
is
do
some overlap.
all of the same things.
And then, of course, everybody will have something to contribute to the nightmares. But for now, let's break out into the September 12th and September 26th groups and talk about
request just to facilitate communication. As I was emailing the groups on Friday, I realized I was starting to build a distribution list in Outlook, and I thought maybe it would be easier for everybody else if there were distribution lists like HR group at MassBio that would be sent to all of the HR group co-chairs, or marketing, Marcom, whatever the email address is. And then that way we don't all have to be opening the spreadsheet and trying to, full of typos, send out emails.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for each of these big forums, a distribution list. All right.
So September 12th, that side of the room, September 26th, this side of the room, the tables move, the chairs move.
No.
We were discussing the 26th. So what did you say? Which side of the room?
Well, yeah, September 26th on that side of the room then. September 12th over here. Mine's just not moving.
So again, this is what we're going to look like. We already have the title.
Bears and all
Yeah, I don't know how we're dangerous against the regulatory world.
Conclude agreements, get added to days, chairs.
Yeah, bring it full circle, right?
Yeah,
Well, the thing is, yeah.
It's, you know, the customer per se, it's the patient, and it's also
blank, so I think you have to go with
That's good.
talk about how the product therapy fills an unmet medical need. I don't know, just a thought. If we had literally all
pulled together.
I mean, I think what we have now is good.
Leading indicators.
Okay, that's fine.
What can we do to add value to this?
September 12th.
Either topic. Okay.
Okay, so
Patrick's coming your way. Happy birthday. I know, but I won't see you.
Really think we can fit in with the kind of
You're the first person in this conference. Please stay on the line. To turn off the music, press 1.
You can see me dinner.
Here's your tray. Later on. So avoid the nightmare up front, but
Yes, that's my first time.
It's easier to check. So when we brainstormed all these topics, we got as far as executing science tactics. Now we have to figure out what does that mean.
Right, exactly. But you see, that's what I think. I mean, as I heard, when Mr. Gray talked about, they're addressing
26, but we're seeing, value.
How are you? Oh, that's all right. Breaking out to focus on September events. Just how
the science tactics are that instead of finding one target and marrying yourself to that, you're cranking through.
Yeah, so we just threw together some really like HR focused topics, but obviously we want to know, what type of topics you guys want to from your perspective.
Thinking about something like that, putting in.
Oh, okay. Has something going on. Okay. So if there's one that you're interested in or want to figure out if there's a role for, strategy is on. Yeah, what exactly?
That's a commercial company, but I'm outlining and a lot of strategies that the program so far, despite the layoff and everything that went through this company, but overall, they had the success in terms of.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good to see you again. I think we met last time.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi, JD Vaidya.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. Hi. JD Vaidya, nice to meet you. Masha Pirelli, nice to meet you.
To meet you.
I think it would be valuable for you to gain some sort of perspective on timeline, like when marketing, when you start thinking about things that you are going to need later.
I just wanted to introduce myself, so I'm representing the CRO. My name is
Company based on therapeutic area they're in.
I was going to say, they didn't put the name tags out for us people that don't belong.
Thank you, sir. I don't have a business card today.
The question is how many speakers? I used to be co-chair of the Drug Discovery Committee since 2005, and now I'm on the advisory board for the Drug Discovery Committee. I've been involved with MassBio for longer than I care to admit.
Does your commitment got more or less?
Maybe not quite as much because we used to run 10 meetings a year, right? So
venture, private equity, or out of academia, right?
Been in there twice, but putting together across blood drives over the day of remembrance.
There's no data going on or anything. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah, there's several different ways, but yeah, that's.
Or they do nucleotides, which of course I thought would work, and they've actually been quite successful.
So how much of a role do you think that should play in?
I think, and I'm just throwing stuff out here, but I think.
Do you talk about that up front?
With us a panel, but I mean, we can't just do.
One speaker is just too much. It's too
How long of a panel are we talking about? Like, what's the time frame that we're looking at? 1 hour or like?
I would know 2 hours, but I'm surprised. Of course, I shouldn't.
Well, I think we're coming right after the financing agreement.
And they've already done
it. So they will do that on June 27th, and then we're the next one.
And so we've already talked
Logical
about.
next step, right?
So now you have the money.
Yeah.
Now what do you do?
What do you do with it? How do you optimize those?
Okay, so those are the assumptions. We have the dough,
should be a presentation where they lay out how they have driven their science to be successful.
Right, yeah. Yeah. So do we need to contact speakers and invite them?
Yeah.
Right. What kind of format we're
Right,
looking
because
at.
you gotta be able to tell the speaker, this is the point of the seminar, this is what it is, this is what we're trying to achieve.
And what needs to be done to get there?
This is, you know, is this something of interest to you?
I mean, it should be, so I guess it's hard to get them to come in, but at least now when we can tell them that they're likely going to be, next meeting, have 100 and change, 120 people, I think was big.
Yeah. Sure, diagnostics.
Yeah, diagnostic company, so definitely not sort of small molecule, but certainly epitomizes to me angel finance, raised a bunch of money, had VC in, they've gone through a hyper period of growth, they're dealing with all those issues of space, growing their team, keeping culture.
So who's the management company?
It's called Doctari.
So who's the management team?
Management team is Bill Rodriguez, academia, Gates Foundation, Clinton Foundation.
Who's the management team at the company? There's a list of people. Yeah. Well, the Gates Foundation isn't a president.
Right, no, I said Bill, yeah, so that was his background. So Bill's a really interesting guy, he's been on so that was just one panelist thought idea that I thought would sort of be, because they're in that period right now. They've got their 14 million Series A, they're trying to build their products, a really big social mission.
Can be becoming public companies.
And that's a really interesting business model and strategy. They've done a lot in terms of who their payers are, who's paying for their products.
Forma set up a platform where they can do high-throughput screening against any target fairly rapidly.
I mean, this for Excel spreadsheet is extremely important. My question is this important in MassBio? Okay,
So, okay, so let's possibly do that here.
I have a problem with this because
Move forward on that area. So they're kind of agnostic as far as target.
Yeah.
It's more of their engine. Right. So
hopefully we don't have so much HIV in this country. It's
So
not
it's like
about
that and the.
The only reason I sort of mentioned it was just sort of what I thought was the model of like building, bringing in talent, the HR perspective, how you keep that culture of an organization dedicated to a scientific, technical.
It's a very compelling case study, right?
They would be a good panelist.
Are we done? That's less than their specific technology and more like an organization. They've gone through.
and now they're starting to expand into the class.
In the course of a year. And they're grappling all space, finding the talent. Do you outsource? Do you bring in those people? How do you find the technical team? How do you work with your board? So just
Who's advising them?
You got other companies that, you got, one target, that's it.
Right.
And then all of them are being,
That's a bit more of a Hail Mary. I mean, that's more luck than a skill if you're successful.
wouldn't recommend that strategy.
No, exactly.
that could So I get it, that was just one thing, it was sort of discussion, but that to me was at least one story minus the kind of dangers that are out there.
That's a great model.
Yeah, so they're the one that I think is germane, they're in it, they're living it, breathing it, and so
Important
we'll find
fact
out.
is the status behind regulars with the microRNAs. Such
And to do it with foundation money, grant money, that's one model. And then
They've raised a bunch, so their financing is they've done Syndicate, BHA, Boston Harbor, they've done a lot of the
yeah, they've
angel
done that.
material.
But then we have the other models, right, that are out there, which are going to be more traditional, let's say, a Third Rock Venture sort of startup, or Polaris or Arch, or you name perhaps they are the classic, start off with a couple $1 million, bake your idea, maybe they even have it in-house for a period of time, and then if it's good enough and it passes the muster, they'll give anywhere from between $3 and $15 million
early next year,
for the first round,
at the end of this
and
year,
your job is to
everybody
develop
that applies to will have
a compound and or a partner by the end of that time usually. And
So I
if you're
think
not
it'd be
looking
just
good,
interesting to see, like,
you're dead. If you are looking
double
good,
it.
you're going to
If
double
they
or
feel
triple
it's
our
helping
investment
them
in
at
you
all,
again, and
you really know
so the
bring in
next set
like
of
some
guidelines
fire
are in place.
That's
find out how,
idea.
is this, do you feel it's
Maybe
making
to
community
invite
safer
someone
for
from
the
the
users
Massachusetts
that are
life
able
sciences.
to respond to?
They are giving a lot of money
Could be
to a company in this,
something that you build off the emergency plan.
and that's part of executive doing.
No, that's good, yeah, because all the ones up to now have been thinking in advance about it, but once it's.
Yeah, I guess I'm still just from the top of the
Translate for
so how do you plan for clinical trials?
Well, I mean, if you do this as a 2 hours, there's going to be like how much we can get away. I would think that if we focus on those 3 different
Somebody that advises you as burgeoning CEO with a new RNA technology or new diagnostic technology, how do you advise that person over the 5 people they want to know that is high on that's something that young entrepreneurs
So yeah, it's
struggle with
really,
also.
yeah, we do that a lot. Like those first 10, 15 hires are absolutely.
Or board members.
Well, that's advisors, it's totally different, yeah.
So maybe one thing is each of the committees.
With a lot of courage.
Yeah,
to tell you the truth, and with some level of knowing it's not going to always work out.
And
The best ones
right?
take risk.
Right.
The ones
And
that
they'll say
don't make a decision.
September or October.
It's
And
better to
then
make a
it was
decision
pointed
that's
out
wrong.
that we should probably spread them out.
Right.
So, but we can present
Right,
that
we can present it. I mean, we can
as
hire
a
it.
fall, and then they're gonna kind of read.
How do you do it though, like the best ones?
It looks like there's already 2 more things not.
You look at the ones that I've seen, the first ones are usually people that they know. Somehow that they know.
Just haven't even gotten
Those are really.
I might address.
People, and somehow they know someone that knows someone through a lab that doesn't get posted on.
Even if we have some of those
So
questions.
that they're ready to make a change, but that usually taps at around 6 to 10 people.
I think that's
See, that's
one of the
great
problems.
advice. Telling that story for young entrepreneurs is
It's really hard.
You're only going to know
I
one or two
have
people.
the same problem in my own world. If I could hire people to come work for me, God,
Maybe we should start to think about the panel, because we are speaking on September 12th, and we have to invite speakers.
Yeah.
And we are already in June, and in September, I can tell you, my September is pretty much full. So I think we should start the panel, start to think about what we want to have, to invite and to have some spare.
Kind of offer himself as a.
Which is, you put it very eloquently, building an engine that can screen lots of targets with reasonably agnostic for the target.
That's exactly what I was telling you.
You know, it's perfect for that.
If you were gonna,
We have a couple of their clients too, so.
That is going for a completely different.
if you have 50 people in the room, like, can we think about what you'd want them to leave learning or knowing, like high level, say in 6 words or less? You know, like how to hire the best employees, how to not make.
Those early hires.
I kind of did, but I.
Hiring and building the early
I
culture.
think it came up this in Montreal.
Yeah, let's build in the culture too, like, you know, I'm watching Sage right now.
And how you set it up.
And then on Friday, another
Vacillating over
came.
one hire to the point
When that one's first.
The second one, the class of monsters that was Tetra
Sorry?
Which is the second example?
Design.
Epizyme.
So that would be Angelos that was here. That's why I asked it before, because I realized that that next to Forma would be a good pairing, but since we're throwing it in here.
She's like their HR recruiter person. She's been doing it a long time. Yeah, she's.
And they really seem to have.
And they're still alive. No, they're not, they haven't blown up to 3 people yet.
And then see if they can make it. Because, I mean, that's one problem that I found in the past.
Ops though. You know, like that person who's on board that is like responsible for ops, like finance, recruiting, HR, they do everything right from the beginning, and including like the plugs for it. But the really important one, someone that, someone that comes to mind that would go into a company.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and if we can make it, I mean, if we have someone else there that
If not Steve, then I know several of the others that might vote down.
Back to, you know, is it strategy models within sort of the, we're building it ourselves versus potential like virtual outsourcing. The HR, that first 10 or 15 hires.
Yes, we did.
Versus,
Yeah, kind of an interesting.
the FIPCO kind of target. So I guess, is that the angle that?
It should be both. It should be both.
Yeah, you gotta mix it both up, because there's 2 different
Groups have to
You have to have a longer audience too.
The idea of it is it's something that you.
So virtual biotech is now cool.
You know, and
For some
so sometimes it doesn't always.
Because there it's the selection of the first, you know, your outsourced partner is the more critical than the first 10 hires.
So there's more drugs out there right now that people want to try again.
Yes. Yeah,
That makes sense. It's
exactly.
low hanging fruit, so they don't need the
Yeah.
So it's a good how you strategize manufacturing.
I'll reach out to Bill or the HR person.
There might be an opportunity to add a third.
Yeah, for
Yeah, I think that's, I believe that we should not only be HR.
It's gonna be a crowded room. But I think
Maybe like an early person who was
that's really
responsible, founder, CSO, or like our VP of R&D kind of guy or girl that, is one of those things that's tricky, so, that's a different one.
One of the things, and this is one of the things that I would suggest to take. Really? A guy from academia that had a company that's been a company from his lab.
I was going to say,
Because that's what the science structure, how they get ready to do. So about the CSO, one of the other person from academia.
One of the tricky topics
I can speak with Avi Spira, who is basically its company. Basically now they develop diagnostics for lung cancer prediction based on basically Russian.
Come up with facilities depending on which, how fast you want to move, how would you strategize, or
and somebody else is running. So, and I know the guy who is,
that sounds like a good
company, but I remember, I know the CSO, and I know the head of R&D, she can be pretty good. So you tell me if you
went to my cousin, who's he's a common process chemist, and he spent university population, and now it's the
Coming back to sort of the three buckets of the model, you have the academic founder spinoff. You've got the build, the big build, third rock, and then you've got the Doctari model, early stage, angel / VC financed. All those have different issues like HR and build and cultural business organizations.
And then of course you have the fourth time, which is all funded by nonprofits.
In different levels in terms of civil functions that you can outsource or the whole, let's just say,
is exactly where I was going. Either one of those.
and what about, you guys?
It was a terrible.
I shouldn't do it. I was thinking of coffee.
Integrated partnerships where farmers partner with CROs that provide a lot of services at different stages of drug development. There are a lot of examples. There are even case studies published in Harvard Business Review that because I'm teaching the biopharmaceutical.
Very dangerous things to start to discuss it in this time. I cannot agree with you more.
This is the time that you're putting together your dream team. Well, so let's make sure that we're making people successful.
Think about it. I have my mixed feeling because I'm working on this kind
So the folks who are sitting in the audience might say, well, I'm creating my own lab, my own business.
I'm not sure that's really this.
Some of her, one of the things she did is she's got specific that you need to build your lab, and oftentimes you need that for discovery. But then once you get to development, executing the dream,
Obviously, everyone's facing it, but to have someone discuss it.
Based on the reaction here, based on the reaction here, if the moderator asked, how do you deal with diversity and planning out this, you're going to get people feeling uncomfortable.
We used to ask that question a lot.
That's what you want.
But it was great. I mean, I actually wish
it doesn't need to be a
Even we don't
topic.
answer
more
this
often at the time.
because it's so sensitive.
Of course.
No company does everything within themselves. No company.
Even the big ones, even the big ones are outsourcing.
So, I mean, that's one aspect is.
What do you want?
What else you can answer anyway?
Be more honest. I'll never forget the
So
person.
how many presidential speakers you
Raise that. Sort of things that you just said, questions, because that's what, if we have a panel, obviously we need to have questions.
most relevant questions, I think.
For September.
Yes.
Let's start to have some.
So, well, we've started to talk about who the people could be.
Bill.
We have the idea of Bill Rodriguez, Craig Reeves from Third Rock, and this academic friend of yours who's also started.
Are very competitive as well, but they might be a good resource, right? They may bring great resource and good talent to the table, but how do you distinguish between a good CRO versus?
You have also connections that can advise you.
Right.
Right.
And I know that Angelo, I mean, he's doing quite a bit of outsourcing.
And they would be interesting if we can't get him, Martin Mentz from the CF Foundation would be good too. Just because you're someone who is a non-for-profit. It's interesting and harder to hire for these guys.
It's a ridiculous thing.
To hire people at Flatley or
Not venture back.
or the CF Foundation
can't
or
pay you $250,000.
ALS. It's more difficult. It's also difficult to make. Who do you hire? Who really mentally is the right person? It's a different thought process. So that's four different.
When you cut them out at this point in time, and
four different types.
I think we need some backup.
And then a backup.
But in terms of the models though, and the big buckets under the big
Yes,
topic,
no, that's
I think
fine.
that's probably right.
Yes.
make up with a partner who can grow with you as opposed to somebody.
That's really great. That's a really good tip.
So maybe something like that. So a question could be like, okay, as part of executing the dream, at what time do we consider outsourcing, and what are the decision-making criteria when it comes to choosing an outsourcing partner for whatever area you are in, like either discovery or development. If people have case studies or experiences that could share, that would be helpful.
Yeah, how do you validate that you're picking the right partner?
Right, because most of the time when you send out an RFI or an RFP, the data is more or less the same. Like, and how are you choosing?
Comes into this discussion, and like I see different ways it comes in with the company.
He's the marketing guy. I just play one on TV.
But like,
So I guess we need to come up
Well,
after this work by email, come up with questions.
I have to be careful because I'm just looking at the strategy and models. I mean, a bit of what we're talking about here fits more with strategy.
It's been interesting.
Yeah, we'll probably talk for a few more minutes and then ask them to
Right,
figure out what
so we have to make sure that
I
we don't.
think they're going in a very different direction.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that, I mean, if you're building it yourself or outsourcing it.
I don't know how that fits into this discussion at all. I remember like one thing was really cool about Altus was that they were years
So
from having a drug.
the
So
three
we have to-
examples that you came up with, those 3 days to science tactics, Forma, Alnylam, and.
Right, right. And of course, if we can find, we just have to be careful so that we're not talking about outsourcing strategy.
This is different.
Because that, I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't include it, we just have to be careful so we don't end up doing 2 meetings in the same month on the same topic.
You should speak with them early and often.
And let them know that you're out there, right?
Absolutely.
So maybe it's for rare diseases and orphan diseases. And the biggest problem with a lot of rare diseases and orphan diseases is that they don't have good central foundations.
Right, exactly.
But
But no, because I mean, that goes a long way for a number of reasons, not the least of which is it enhances the culture, right?
Yeah.
And again, not to keep talking about Bluebird, but they're, synergy, a lot of these companies, they just, they have pictures up of.
So just to some degree, they will be the drivers from the FAB, and of course, I mean, you have MassBio, but I think if we can come up with
a solution for an unmet need, so from a culture.
if we get Forma, Episign, and Alnylam to agree, yes, we can speak that day. We have a speaker that we can say that day. And if we find a CRO, CMO that fits into that, so that with science tactics, not strategy models.
and small, that has early on embraced, the patient right off.
And has a nonprofit leader on their board.
And they do walks and stuff like that. And, they're not Vertex.
I mean, you guys gave a good talk.
Seaside is a good example, right? They went down the tubes, right?
Yeah.
Basically, but they had that mission. It was so exciting.
What was the mission?
Their mission was for this childhood disease.
Yeah, I forget.
But they thought that they had something really exciting, and they built this whole company. And Dad built this whole company.
I don't think we need to meet that often unless we don't get the people to agree. If we get them to agree by next week, we're 80%. I mean, that's it. I've actually worked with ex-economy. Will come and take the reading.
Very patient.
Well, they asked me some questions.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
I've been on those panels.
The other thing to remember, I mean, when we're driving to September 26th, that should be the first date that we ask them. We have not publicized those dates outside of our working group.
So there's a little bit of,
Or, you know, we can check with Susan on room availability, but start with that, and then if those are really the three companies we want to focus on, and they all can do another day.
Is that a Thursday?
That should be a Thursday.
Thursday, and it's the 8 to 10 slot?
Yes.
And you should
So
add
start
that to
with that, and then if
whoever
we all
does the
get, if we all strike out across all of those contacts, then we can handle that too. And as far as sort of meeting we'll convene probably every month or every 6 weeks, all of the co-chairs to continue driving these things forward. There'll be time to talk about their individual events, time to talk about the coordinated events. We understand in the summer.
So Nick,
Or was it or board member of
or
Bluebird?
Bluebird. You know, what,
There will be a lot of emails. We're trying to be very specific about who we're reaching out to and how, so.
she's their chief operations guy.
I think that'd be a good one. Jeff would do it.
For us, I'll lead.
Pam did the recruiting.
Yeah.
And she's done a lot of their HR. She's pretty smart. Good at her job.
It's a fun culture.
I want to run off for on the CRO,
Yeah.
but like, is the biggest DMC represented?
They were actually both on the phone, but Susan has a call with them
Hopefully that'll change.
the next day to loop them back in, to make sure that they're, yep, we will share with them. Yes, there's
They sort of changed.
Okay.
So we've got speakers, we've got a format.
I think Susan wanted us to have a second person from one of the other teams to be like a white person.
Yeah, we need 20 people.
So I know, I feel bad, you guys, the only ones here for your teams, you're trying to volunteer for everything, yeah.
You show up and get assigned.
Yeah.
John?
I'll do some other assignments. They don't know it yet, but it's happening.
Right, yeah, you need the entrepreneurs to kind of help move things forward, but yeah, discovery probably starts with science somewhere, and then either the scientist becomes an entrepreneur or partners with an entrepreneur and bring things forward.
Sure.
It is, yeah. Because, somebody's got to make their quota.
Hey, did I get you for tomorrow night, that thing that we're doing?
No.
Keep time, 4:30 tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Make sure you go. Yeah, pretty full play.
So give it a couple, 3 more minutes, and then we'll just talk about what we talked about, flesh it out, and
What's the market look like? What's the exit look like? Because the scientist maybe didn't think of all that.
Locked on this,
Doing
this
such
is locked, so that's locked, there's no wiggle room around there.
But we should probably set another
Work with me. There's a lot, so many pieces. The IP side, the legal side, entrepreneurial, finance, operational, the science, the development.
Would it be wrong to say we meet like the last week in June? Just to see where we are on everything?
We've got 3 potential speakers, more panel discussion.
What do we think is
I'll invite Steve.
I'll ask, one of you wants to ask Andrew for every sign from that, since he's on the working. I sort of suggested it to him when he sat next to me, and he didn't really commit.
Yeah, we can follow, and then you can reach out to him on.
I am not, that's the last week of June.
I don't have his new address.
The second floor.
Second floor.
13th is.
You can do it before that.
That's at 8 a.m. We just wanted to
Right after that.
I'll be here at 5.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, green line, the house is appreciated like 4 times.
Yeah.
doing it right after would be awesome.
Money on real estate
Okay.
Cambridge, you know?
For me, just so running up here twice.
Me too.
I know you gotta go up like 2 whole floors or
I know.
something.
I was gonna say.
I'm not on that list.
It's not you.
I can do it.
Do you want to be the key contact?
Top
Yeah.
27.
You start thinking, yeah.
Based on.
It won't be too awful, I promise,
Yeah.
but we do try and have one person.
So what would be good if I can actually get the mailing list of everybody that's,
Yep, all those people.
just subgroup them and then just send out an email.
These guys got it.
So does that sound, John, you're
Oh, we were a little better.
Yeah, I
think-
think, yes, absolutely.
I'll allow to anyone who would suggest speakers at that point. Get them, then it's like, okay, what would you think would be?
So I'll email you. I met this woman through Lauren that
But also it was complaining, something that interests you.
she's coming in to speak to people that I've invited with IDG tomorrow night. Did I get you an invite? It's 4:30 to like 6:30. Birthday's also been saying different things. My wife is coming down because she thought we were going to spend the night. We realized MIT and Harvard have taken every hotel room. So we're doing this thing here, 4:30 to 6:30, be like a great networking thing, but really a lot of fun.
Okay, can we start fleshing out?
Pardon me?
Fertilized master biomarkers.
I felt it this morning.
One person from each group give a summary of how far you've gone, description, so that we can start working on this.
Step up.
Terrific.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We have a leader over here.
Thank you.
Okay, so
All right, we're gonna report that, guys. I'm sure, just so each group knows what the others discussed.
Yeah, so briefly on executing the Dream 2 science tactics, what we're going to do is we'll invite at least 3 companies that I think have been successful in a variety of ways. We're looking at Forma, Epizyme, and Alnylam. See if we can get those guys to be a panel, mainly focusing on the scientific tactics. You know, what was the science, what the tactics that they present the science that allowed them to, start small, because each of these did start small, and now they've progressed to fairly good sized companies with robust strategies and engines. So we're going to see if the speakers can make this date, and then we'll follow up internally, try and develop the questions for the panelists, and then go from there.
Okay, so drug discovery is the lead
working group here. Who are the 2 leads from drug discovery who are going to be responsible for the coordinate? Just
Well,
Rob.
I'll be one, but
And so we're also collaborating with, perhaps, who else? Are we
Zero CMO.
And Bobby, you want to do the?
I will facilitate the discussion as requested.
Okay, so Robert, you'll be the P, loop the others in, and Bobby, you're the CRO, CMO.
I mean, we have, because when we talked a bit about this, and one of the things that, at least from my perspective, I'm just throwing it out, I'm not saying that, I'm speaking for the whole group, is that it's a fair bit of what services CRO, CMO can provide, at least to me, falls more on the strategy than the science. So one question I have is, and of course we'll see what you guys have come up with. Where that support fits best of the 2.
One of the things that the group discussed is if those 3 companies tell the story of scientific models in decision making, then could we use the questions we asked to tease out some of the other themes? So do we have a question or 2 on at what point did you make decisions on outsourcing, or how did you choose partners, and make that a programmatic piece instead of defined by the panel? So maybe it's a way of.
No, that's why, but that still to me is on the strategy for executing the dream. But I mean, that's just.
Well, again, as part of the process, all contributors will come up with talking points and key issues. And again, that will go to the moderator, and then with a big panel planning call, will become part of the discussion.
Okay, so you've got
you'll get us a more fleshed out description, speaker list, and target audience. We'll talk about target audience. Okay, so we'll follow up with an email.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so I think it's just another.
So basically, just a quick overview. Target audience, you're looking to target mostly.
The target audience is basically, my goal is to draw, as many people from as diverse a group, right? So the goal is to talk about science tactics and give examples of companies that have very diverse scientific tactics. So if I give examples of Forma is mainly an engine driven by their high throughput screening and their chemistry. That was their strength, that was their science, that's what they started small and were able to progress that out. They're pretty agnostic against the target, but that's their strength. You look at a company like Epizyme, they focused in on a specific target class and tried to develop the molecules and the science around that class. And then once they built that, then they had a library, a portfolio of molecules that had added value, and they are expanding into that target class, right? And you look at Alnylam and other companies. So it's a very different strategy as far as where you focus your science, where you focus your strength, and then allow that to progress forward through the drug discovery process. So we hope that they can talk about what made them lead to those original decisions. And out of that, then what you hope is you have a diverse then set of questions about, well, how does that impact this particular audience group, subgroup, and this group? So each of those will have hopefully one or two questions that would be of more of interest to, say, the CRO, CMO group, or to biostatistics, or to whatever. Actually, hopefully all the groups, because we want to draw in a larger audience.
That sounds perfect. All right, there's our write-up right there. Okay, great. All right, so we'll follow up with that. September 12th, executing the dream.
You guys want to hear the story? All right. All right. So we have actually accomplished quite a bit. The game plan for our team is to work together with, let's see, where are my notes? With yeah, there we go. So John and Mike, John on BD and Mike on marketing, and myself in HR as the 3-point people. And what we've decided to do is form a group of 5 speakers. One that would represent an academic into a startup. This is someone who is still in an academic setting but has had companies emerge and make that transition. And then someone from Third Rock who has built a number of different organizations and sort of their strategy from both the early stage scientific hires to the executive team and their sort of model for incubating. And then someone who has uniquely developed a company from scratch and has a product for diagnostics that's close to shipping that has really gone from being a 2 or 3 person size company to 35, both with funding from non-for-profit organizations and disease organizations to also venture capital. He's very unique and he has a wide berth of knowledge to share. And then another great idea was someone to come from a non-for-profit sort of startup that's out there. There's a number of them locally with ALS and with the CF Foundation and Flatley Discovery Labs to sort of gain an appreciation for what they go through in hiring as well and building their organization. And then there was one more person that sort of came to the front. So we have 5 different speakers. And this is really representing someone like, how does marketing get involved with an early startup? Oh my gosh, they don't have a drug, what are they really marketing? Well, they're marketing the culture of an organization from the start, being sort of creating the kind of who and what makes you guys special from a day-to-day work perspective, but also how important it is for companies that are young and getting going to embrace rare and orphan disease foundations and get their patients involved in what they're doing early, because it inspires the team, it makes it more tangible from a petri dish, and also helps the people that are suffering from these diseases to see hope. And so those are the 5 people, and we have a very strong idea of who they would be. We have set a meeting for the 27th after the meeting that we have for the topic. I forget what it is, but the 27th.
All right, I can arrange a conference room for that.
Yep.
I think we're actually going to solicit all the other co-chairs first, just make sure we
Right.
get the date firmed up and then all.
Okay, all right. So,
Did I miss anything?
That's good.
So the idea is building a corporate culture and how do you do
Yeah, elevating the patient feel.
well, there's our write-up right there. Terrific. All right, so we'll email, and we'll get that all set up in the system. Terrific. All right, so.
On this academic
Oh, yeah, just a couple of notes. You may have, or you should have received an email from Susan that had a media package for the first 2 forums. What the forum advisor, or for the first one, the forum advisory board asked us to, in each of these big forums, come up with a package of materials we could forward that they could then forward to their network. So each package will include a PDF of a flyer, social media messages that you can use on your Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and an email template if you want to forward to your contacts as well. So you'll get that for, at least for now, for each of the big events, and feel free to share them in all of your various channels. It's an effort to kind of amplify our existing marketing efforts. And anyone who's tweeted, we've been watching, so thank you for using those messages.
And the media package for this June 27th forum is ready. I'm going to send that out today. So tweet your hearts out, share the love. Next steps, complete forum planners. We'll get our descriptions, everything together, this, and you'll continue to get in on any planning calls and whatnot for both of the forums. Again, contact me to review what we've gone over, and we'll, for any of the independent forums, we'll select a date. And then always keep in mind, forum timeline. John?
A quick question on the forum tracker and updating that,
Yes.
sort of how we get information to do that post today's meeting. Is that all going to you, Susan, and then we'll have an updated? Is there a rev number on it too? Or are we sort of tracking sort of that piece? Just, I know there'll probably be multiple copies of it just to make sure we have the most up to date.
We have to figure that out. You weren't here earlier. We were describing what happened.
Sorry.
Someone had gone. No, that's all right. No, it bears repeating. We were working on the tracker and a number of things in the Dropbox for the working groups, and then around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, everything disappeared. Apparently, somebody accidentally deleted everything. So, if you want to update anything, send it to me, and then I'll update it.
We're working on those things.
Yeah. That's exciting. Anything else?
Last but not least, if you RSVP to join us at the Red Sox game tomorrow, we'll be FedExing your tickets tomorrow. We're just getting them today.
Game's
So-
Thursday.
Thursday.
I've got one thing too.
Thursday's the game. So,
Has anybody want to go that has not already RSVP'd me?
I want to go, but I can't go.
Yeah, right.
well, we hope this won't be the only perk we can offer at any given point. But we did have the opportunity, thanks to WP, so we want to be able to say thank you. And we'll continue to do that. We do have a summer reception planned for the broad membership, and we'll make sure you're all invited. That's always fun.
I want to invite you guys as well. I have a speaker coming in tomorrow night. I know a bunch of you are planning on coming, but I didn't get an invite out to everyone. But this woman that I met about 5 months ago named Helly is very, very cool. And she's coming in to speak with mostly HR sorts of people and some executives as well. But it's really good for anyone that manages anyone, or a husband or a wife, to gain a whole new appreciation for what motivates people. I met her and just really liked her. She's from Denmark and has been successful, and so it's totally free. And it's my birthday, so I'm gonna have sangrias as my treat for myself. And I'm making them tonight. Stopping at Cappy's at 10:30 in the morning. That'll be a good luck. And then we'll be able to do some networking. So it's not a big crowd, it'll be like 40, 50 people. But Helly's gonna speak for like an hour, and I promise you're gonna be like, wow, I learned something today. And she's giving a free copy of her book away too, so.
Tomorrow, what time?
4:30 to 6:30.
And it's
Here, right here.
This
So
room.
just email me if you want to come.
And everybody say, happy birthday, Patrick.
Happy birthday, Patrick.
There you go.
Bravo,
Eat your name
sangria.
badges.
I know you got the alcohol. Keeps on giving. You know.
See you with the rice.
Yes, Kathy's at 10:30.